S-P-E-N-C-E-R. I'm the Executive Vice President of the Owner-Operator Independent Driver Association. Well, I apologize for missing the first part of the segment. My morning has sort of been taken up with rental car follies. Having said that, I don't want to be duplicative or anything like that, but in just the short segment that I've been listening to, I mean, what kind of seems obvious to me is that there are lots of concerns, some major, some minor, with the CSA program in general, concerns that have been, that have certainly have increased awareness of lawmakers, and they believe things need to be done in that area to more address what I guess I'd really call, I mean, real safety. The concerns with CSA is that a lot of the scores, for lots of different reasons, aren't necessarily an accurate reflection. So I'm thinking to myself, well, when we talk about beyond compliance and various options, well, what we're really looking for here is perhaps already there, and it's the crash indicator basic. Some carriers, regardless of other things, all other factors crash, and some don't. Some drivers crash, and some don't. What we need is a system that rewards those people that have demonstrated through, I know you all know especially there are drivers with millions of accident-free miles, not one, not two, not three, I mean 4, there's even 5 million drivers. I know now, thankfully, there's at least a couple of pictures of them at the headquarters. Good stuff, I'm thrilled. But I mean, realistically, the system we need is one that recognizes that these folks, for whatever reason, whatever they do, they don't crash. We don't need to be wasting time, effort, and resources focusing on them. And I'm not sure how you do it, because if you're going to talk about, when you talk about carriers, in the overall, no carrier is ever going to be any safer than their poorest driver, or perhaps drivers that are that operate mostly in areas where they're likely to get run into. But certainly it gets down to individuals. Some people are going to crash and some people aren't. As you guys know well, I fussed at length because I don't think the agency pays nearly enough attention to how carriers that don't crash operate compared with those carriers that say they do all of these things, but their trucks are bent up a whole lot more and other people's cars are bent up a whole lot more. But I mean, that's where we need to be. Now, I understand the crash indicator basic is made public. But maybe, I guess kind of from my perspective, I would like to entertain the notion that why not? Because maybe that's the only one that makes any sense. Or that's really the only one that needs to be focused on. Is that on the table?
Well, we can't make it. Making the crash indicator basic, it's not on the table as part of the Beyond Compliance program. Making the Beyond Crash indicator basic, we'd have to wait until after the results of making any basic public, we're asking them to wait until the results of the National Academy of Sciences study. And so, once NAS study is done, it might be on the table. I think there are a lot of people that would argue that before we were to take that step, we need to look at the crash preventability or crash type of program. I know that there are concerns about us getting involved in that arena also. I have some concerns about us getting involved in that arena. But I think that those are things that we are going to be pursuing. We're going to pursue looking at some sort of crash preventability program on some level, probably. You can expect that you would get something We are working with the National Academy of Sciences to go through the CSA program and to hear what they have to say about it. And once those things are done, then we can think about whether or not we make the crash basic public or not. But it's probably, a year, 18 months down the road.
To kind of follow along with my thought, because I'm just throwing things out here in the air that I've never discussed publicly, but what if it was something as simple as a light on top of the truck that said 3 million miles safe driver? And the opposite of that is that I find it absolutely amazing that our system allows somebody that might have 2 weeks experience to be running by themselves, or for that matter, somebody that a new driver may be running with a driver instructor with only 6 months experience. I'd like to see that lit up on the top of the truck too. So not only truck drivers, but every other driver out there could actually see what's there. And this is a little different, I suppose, than anything that's been brought up here, but I know there are the various facilities around the country that actually post how long it's been since they've had a serious accident on the job site. Maybe a fatality. I look at that stuff, I pay attention to it. I watched a show one time about people that built a bridge a long time ago. A big bridge. And they said their goal from day one was to make sure that no worker on that bridge died. Not one. They built a net of it. So if people fell, they'd land in the net. You know what? Nobody died. Now, in trucking, generally, 650 so people die in crashes every year. And it's kind of the norm. And, it seems to be acceptable to many. I mean, we growl at the agencies, why do we not even have crashworthiness standards for big trucks? Well, I don't know. It doesn't make any sense to me. All the people talk about how concerned they are about safety. Well, it's hard. That's why we don't. And there isn't a great big constituency or an important constituency that's pushing for it. But I mean, there are a lot of things that we could do to improve safety and to actually save lives. And I think beyond compliance ought to be something more than bells and whistles, and I know you think so too, but I mean, we need to recognize good performance, safe performance, and reward it. I mean, maybe we have different hours of service regulations. Maybe we do a lot of things different. But, assuming everybody is a bad guy is a flawed strategy, because there's never going to be enough money, never be enough time, never be enough resources, and it doesn't really accomplish anything anyway. Thank you.
Thank you.
Questions?
I just said thank you. Do you have any background questions?
Well, I mean, I think one of the things I get is that you're looking for us to find room or some mechanism in beyond compliance to make sure that it's not necessarily about activities, but about results. Okay. Yeah, so.
I can tell you why lots of guys don't crash. And and the hours of service regulations, as you guys have heard ad nauseum, don't improve highway safety. I mean, they can't, because they make it harder and harder and harder for people that know what they're doing to make the safety choice. As Shannon and some of you guys know, no truck driver will dive off into traffic in the Beltway in D.C. If they have options, but if the clock keeps running, well, then they do it. I mean, you guys don't do it. These are smart decisions you make. And you know it's going to be safer to do that, but the regulations don't allow professionals that do this stuff every day to have that level of flexibility. We look at our guys that primarily owner-operators that run their own equipment, and it doesn't make any difference what's right or wrong. They're gonna do everything they can to make sure no idiot can mess up their day or their week or perhaps put them out of business. So they're gonna stay away from fools. And it doesn't matter, make any difference whether it's right or wrong, that's how they operate. When the weather's lousy, they change how they operate. They change the route, they change their time. Sometimes when the weather is lousy right behind you, you go a little farther, you go a little faster. Because it's going to be a whole lot safer to do that than the alternative. And, I mean, I've done those things. They're the smart decisions to make, and guys that know, that are experienced, that are knowledgeable, they make those decisions. And they're not like the guy that's brand new, because they've learned what they're doing, and they should be rewarded for it. They shouldn't all have the same baseline where we're going to whack you if something's not just right.